Good afternoon, Gary.
Afternoon, Rich.
How are you?
Pretty good.
That's good. That's good. How's your lovely wife?
She's just fine.
Good, good. So is mine. So is mine. Out at the shelter right now, playing with cats. So I'm home to talk about football.
The musical.
Oh, they're real, the real deal, at the shelter. So my wife, my wife, I'm so proud of her. She just went over 10,000 hours of volunteer
Wow.
work at the shelter. That's a long time. That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, it is.
So, she's pretty dedicated. Any of you out there ever seen my wife, throw her an attaboy or an attagirl because she sure deserves it. So, anyway, Seahawks and Niners, Gary. What do you think? What kind of history are we looking at here?
Well, we don't have a very good history with the Seahawks. They've kind of beat us up pretty bad. Head to head, Seattle's won 29 games. We won 17 with no ties. And worse than that, the points scored, the Sea Chickens have 1,122 points, and the 49ers only have 849 points.
Boy, that's not a recipe for winning, is it?
But there's a way to look at it. The pendulum always swings. It's time for it to swing back.
It does. And I'll talk about this a little later because I got some thoughts on Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson and what Wilson was alluding to before the season, and Pete Carroll saying, I don't know how to coach when I'm losing. He literally said that. So a little later on in the podcast, I have a little to talk about there. Go ahead.
The big question about Pete Carroll that's going around now is what kind of gum does he chew? And how often does he swallow it?
Yeah. He's probably got to have one of those big old giant Wrigley things,
Well, my guess was the big league chew.
The big league chew. All right, that's a good one. Hey, maybe he's a regular Bazooka Joe, though. So maybe he's chomping on bubble gum there. Who knows? You talked about the history a little bit, and this year things are a bit different. And I took a look at this, and there's some pretty key statistics that make me know that we can beat this team. Doesn't necessarily make me feel like we can, but intellectually, it makes sense that we win this game. We both played 11 games. Jimmy's had 330 attempts on the season, and Russell Wilson, of course, he missed 2 games, 3 games, right? Yeah, and he's had 243 attempts. We're averaging 30 attempts per game. Seattle's only averaging 22 attempts per game, and that one is on Russell Wilson. Even though he missed those 3 games, he played all the other games. He played all the other 8. So this is on him. Total yards from our total yards, receiving yards, 1,440 for the Niners, 1,018 for the Seahawks. Rushing yards, we're averaging 130.9 a game, which is spectacular. And they're averaging 92 and a half. And Carson's out. So I would expect that number to go down. And receiving first downs. That might not sound like something, and you wonder where the heck did that stat even come from, but it's big. The Seahawks have 59 receiving first downs, and we know how they kill us with long ball. We've got 86. 86. So a 27 receptions for a first down ahead of Seattle this season. That's a big number.
Yeah, it is.
That's a big number, and that's one that people overlook, and I think it's important. So, any thoughts on? So this is this season, Gary. You've watched some of those games, and what do you
I took a dive into the WTF game with Washington team football.
Okay, the WTF.
And what I saw
That's
was, and I'm going to give you a little bit of kind of stats and explain what that makes, the difference that makes. Well, they have 17 linemen over 300 pounds.
really
18 other players between 300 and 250. They came out looking strong, but they got gassed. And by the second half, the lines were walking around. They weren't running downfield. They weren't doing anything like that. They just appeared to be very large bullies. And then once they wore out, they did a lot of watching on both sides of the ball.
You're talking about Seattle's lines, right?
I'm talking about Seattle's offensive and defensive line. That's what
Okay.
I saw.
Okay.
And if we can grind out some long drives, we'll wear them out that much faster.
Hey, for the last 5 games, that's exactly our game plan, and that's what we did, and we did it successfully. And this team, just based on what I read before, is very vulnerable to the run. So yeah, I think that's really, those are really important numbers. What else you got there?
Well, I noticed that Russell wasn't all that accurate like he usually is.
Really?
And
You think it's his finger?
I took a note that let's hope Wilson will play the same in our game as he did against the Washington team football.
Yeah, let's hope. I think his finger, man, I saw it when it was injured. He was running off the field with it when he injured it. It looked really ugly. I mean, it was dislocated. And so now he's out there, and that's his throwing hand, right? So he's out there playing right now.
Yeah.
And man, your middle finger when you're a quarterback, that's
your
injury.
rudder.
Yep.
And that could very well be what the problem is. It's changed his throwing enough that he just can't get it dialed in yet.
Yeah. If we look at their two big receivers, Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. The one thing that those guys do, and they do very, very well, is get themselves open when Russell's in trouble, right? And Pete Carroll calls up some nice bombs that kill us every game. So even if Russell Wilson's having a hard time throwing the ball, and you said you didn't see this in the Washington game and that he looked off, I still think that we're really gonna have to watch these two receivers because they're big. Well, Lockett's not that big. DK Metcalf is huge. He's a big guy, a big receiver, and hard to cover. So I'm assuming it's Josh Norman and Mosley this weekend that'll be playing those guys.
Well, Mosley's done pretty good in the past against him.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's never going to do perfect against him.
No.
But Mosley's done pretty decent against him. I've got a lot of hope coming in there.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, me too. You know, the thing that we have to do, and I alluded to this a few moments ago, those long bombs to Lockett, they're right in the middle of the field. It's every single game. At least one 40-yard pass right down the middle of the field with Lockett standing there all by himself. I don't know how it happens every game. It happens every game. And if we can stop that, if somehow we can just stick to that guy, put somebody on, play man, you know, at least make it hard on the guy. So he's not just standing there with a 20-yard circle around him with nobody there. Then I think we have a real chance of hurting Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf, he's a great receiver. It was a great draft pick. But he's a red zone guy. He's got 8 touchdowns on the year. So Tyler Lockett's got 813 yards on the year. So, you know, those guys are still playing pretty good, especially considering, you know, the fact that Wilson was out for a few games. So, and their rushing leader is Alex Collins with 395 yards. And rushing touchdowns, Carson, who's out, he's got 3. So they don't run the ball very well at all. That's a huge advantage for us. So hearing those numbers, thinking of the receivers, thinking of Russell Wilson, you know, being okay. He's only thrown for 12 touchdowns this year. And the running game is poor. Against our defense, what do you think about this offense?
Well, I think that we can handle them. But once again, this is our nemesis.
It sure is.
We always have big games, and it doesn't matter what our records are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here recently with us, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a toss-up.
Oh, yeah. It's like we broke a mirror and we have 7 years of bad luck that turned into 10 years of bad luck against these guys, you know. And I think we break mirrors and dance around the number 13 and you know, do all kinds of stuff to hurt our mojo. We got to go in there with a chip on our shoulder.
Yes.
We do. We need to beat these guys up. And we don't need to do it because it's the Seahawks. We need to do it because we never get past them, and we want to show the rest of the NFL that we're running into the playoffs, not walking.
Well, I think that us as fans deserve a bruising of the Seahawks in this game.
Oh, yeah. No question about that. Yeah, they owe us one. That game earlier this year was just awful. It was just awful. We looked horrible against these guys. And that's why I said, I think they have permanent residence in our head right now, especially when Wilson's out. They just whip us.
Let's hope they watch this last game and see where a lot of the holes are, a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. You know, anything else on Niners or on Seattle's offense that jumps out at you, Gary?
Well, all I've got is the stuff that we're going to have to do in order to make sure that we get this game.
What is that? What are your?
Well, first, both our O-line and D-line are going to have to step up, be better than they have all year long, and they're going to have to play tough and wear these guys out.
Yep.
And Jimmy's going to have to play a lot better this game than he did against the Vikings.
Really?
Yeah, he's going to have to keep his head in the game. We can't have passes going someplace where he thinks he can squeeze it in when he can't.
Yeah.
And he needs to find the open receiver and read the defense. I think there's nothing that I don't think he can't do. It's just like he was distracted last game or something. There was just something not quite right. He did great, but
His numbers were good.
yeah,
His numbers look like he had a nice game.
but he missed some open receivers, not with the ball, but he threw it the wrong place.
Oh,
And
so that's a coaching concern to me, is that the quarterback and the receiver aren't on the same page for where the receiver's going to cut.
well, I think it's more that Jimmy's so confident in what he does, he'll go where he wants to go rather than to check down and try to find someone that's a little better open. Because most of the time he does it, man. He hits those little bitty windows with that
I was
ball.
going to say that. I saw 2 receptions. I don't remember who caught him, but man, that window was inches, and he put that ball right on the money. That was impressive. So he seemed to be accurate on the passes that people caught. But you know,
On the one interception, he had a couple of receivers open, but he trusted his getting it in that little bitty window.
Yep.
And he just has to recognize the defense a little quicker.
Yeah.
And not quite have so much. Well, I still want him to have confidence in being able to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Because he can do that so well.
He really can. He really can. And I think he'll be you know, I think we'll do really well against this defense if we play our game. So there's one thing that we need to do. So I have a little bit of defense to talk about, and this is based upon some of the offensive stats and thoughts that you just gave. So in terms of, you know, Seattle defense, given what you were just talking about, one thing that we have to do is wrap up Bobby Wagner. I don't care how we do it. I don't care if we have juice out there every play to bust through the line and pick this guy up. But he's got 128 tackles on the year. The guy's a superstar. He's a Hall of Famer.
Well, you know why he has 122 tackles, don't you?
128.
128? Well, it's because the D-line gets tired and he mops up everything.
Yeah, boy, he mops it up good. He can pass cover. He can tackle. He can hit the line. He can go. You know, he can go after the quarterback. He can do anything. I mean, the guy is just.
But he does slow down too. He slowed down in the WTF game,
and
because he was doing too much.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can only do so much before you'll wear down, right? You know, here's something interesting. Their sack leader is Darrell Taylor, whoever that is. He's got 5 sacks. Nobody on this team has more than 5 sacks. That's really interesting to me. And that goes right back to what you were saying about their defensive line being big and fat, going against these athletic offensive linemen that wear them out. And that's exactly what we can do because we've got those guys. And here's something else. They're allowing 203.2 yards per game passing, which is 26th overall. So the defense isn't very sharp in pass coverage. And their rushing yards a game, they're giving up 92.5 yards a game, which is 25th overall. So their defense, pass defense and rush defense, they're way, way, way down the league average. They're very good at stopping third downs. No, they're not. What am I talking about? their third down percentage that they defend is 32.5%, and that's 32nd overall in the league. That's not good. That's last place, right?
Yeah, there's only 32 teams, so that sounds like that's what it is.
And altogether, they're giving up 300 yards a game. That's their average. The Niners, on the other hand, passing yards per game, they're 16th overall, and rushing yards per game, they're 6th overall. So again, numbers look like we're in pretty good shape. I had a couple things to talk about on the Niners offense. Gary, can we switch yet? Are we still on Seattle?
Sure, go ahead.
Let me. So we talked about some of the stats that Seattle have, and they're very, very underwhelming. But if I take a look at those exact same stats for the Niners, I mean, Jimmy's thrown 2,342 yards this season. So he's well ahead of Russell Wilson, but again, keeping in mind that Wilson missed 3. But he's only got 13 passing touchdowns, and Wilson missed 3 games, and he's got 12. That's the scary thing about this guy. He figures out how to get it in there. Rushing yards, their best rusher, I can't even remember the guy's name. He's got 300 and change for the season. Elijah Mitchell's got almost 700 yards. So he's more than doubling it up. And rushing touchdowns, Deebo Samuels is our leader with 5 of them, which is really interesting. How they've turned him into a runner in the red zone. Receiving yards, of course, Deebo's over 1,000 yards, 1,006 yards. So, I mean, already great season. Definitely MVP numbers to look at. And receiving touchdowns, he's got 5. So he's got 5 rushing touchdowns. He's got 5 receiving touchdowns. He's got 10 touchdowns altogether with, 1,000 total receiving yards. All-purpose yards, Deebo's got 1,284. And that's crazy. That's a crazy number at this time of the season. Can he get over? Can he get close to 2,000? I don't know. Total yards. If he misses 2 games, he won't.
It's all groin driven, isn't it?
Yeah, it's groin driven. It sure is. But total passing yards per game, we're 16th overall with 234.2. And rushing yards, we're 130.9. We're 6th overall. So you put those two together, and that's 365 yards a game. That's pretty impressive offense.
Well, you think that Jimmy's low touchdown passing numbers might be low because of our running game?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bypass it if you can run it across.
Right. Just like in the last game, 3 touchdowns by running backs, right?
Yep.
Well, using Deebo as a running back. So yeah, I mean, that's our strength. I hate just when we just run it when we're on the 2, we run it up the middle 4 times and turn the ball over. But from what I saw in the last game, they mixed that up. Deebo was outside for both of his touchdowns. And Mitchell was outside for his touchdown.
Mitchell was out there blocking, and so was Ayuk blocking.
Yeah. So very promising. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, we should have no problem handling this team.
But the numbers don't tell the whole story.
No, they don't. What is the whole story, Gary?
The whole story is Monday morning or Tuesday morning, depending on the game.
Yep.
Or it could be Friday morning,
Friday morning.
Thursday night game.
Ah, yeah. Who's
And,
playing?
not to throw a wrench in it, we've discussed it, but according to your daily San Francisco 49ers news for Tuesday, November 30th, 2021, Debo and Warner are going to be out against the Seahawks.
Yeah. That's what I read today too, is that they're out.
And but we'll see what happens come game time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Debo's the hardest guy to replace. Because some of these younger linebackers have stepped up, and, with
they're looking pretty good.
I really this guy, Alshire, I've said it over and over
Well,
again.
Flanagan Foles isn't looking too bad either.
No, he's not. Now,
how do they get his name on the back of his jersey? I mean, it's like the baseball players, their names will go in an arch over the back of their jersey.
Yeah, right. Well, these guys are built like arches, so it probably worked pretty well. Yeah, I got a couple other numbers for you here real quick. So total tackles is Fred Warner leads the team with 92. Bobby Wagner's got 154. I mean, we love watching Fred Warner, right? He's all over everything. And you look at that number, and that's a good number, 92 tackles in 11 games. But Wagner's got him by 60 tackles.
Well, if your
crazy
defensive line isn't making any tackles, you're going to make a lot more than what Fred does.
That's a good point. I
mean, if you're the only line of defense that's making tackles, you're going to have all the numbers.
Yeah, but look how
you got one wide receiver that catches the ball. He's going to have outstanding stats.
Yeah, you're right.
It's all about the team.
But Bobby Wagner does more than that, though. He goes into pass coverage all the time, and covers very well. And the guy's not young.
And he'll make a tackle if they run it too.
Yep.
Because they get past the defensive line, and he still gets that tackle.
He's no kid.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with him. I'm just saying that his numbers are inflated because of inferior support.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. When I say that he's no youngster, I'm just saying the guy's been in the league like 12 or 13 years, playing at this level. It's pretty impressive. I mean, that guy is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
first vote Hall of Famer. I think for a long time the guy was the best linebacker in football. Even as bad as I hate the Seahawks, I always enjoyed watching that guy play because he was so good. And he hasn't dropped off. Sacks, that's the big one. Bosa's got 11. And I don't know how many total. I didn't come up with that. But just Bosa by himself is more than twice as many sacks as the Seahawks have. So that offensive line, I think you nailed it. I think the offensive line on Seattle is their weak point, and I think our defense is gonna get them. And I hope we're blitzing safeties. I hope that we're blitzing linebackers, bringing 6 guys, because that rattles Wilson. He doesn't like to get hit. Nobody slides better than that guy. So, yeah, I mean, that's huge. Having one guy have more than your best, twice as much as your best player does, So, and then, that's about all I've got in terms of talking about the numbers. But if you look at the numbers, the Niners should win this game. handily.
Well, I've got a little bit to say about that. I just basically is it if you have any good luck charms, make sure you have them with you during the game.
Okay. I'll have my pockets stuffed with them, and I'll have them hanging here, and I'll put everything I got out there. Yeah, we need every team needs luck. Every team needs luck, right?
And
so
speaking of the game, were you gonna watch the game?
Well, I think I'll head downtown Vancouver to Heathen Feral Public Brew House. I don't know if I ever get that right. It's Heathen on Washington. It's a giant restaurant.
It's all right. We have a scene at the end of the video that gives the address and phone number as well as the name.
Outstanding. Thank you, Gary. And but come with us, and especially for this game, I anticipate at least 149er fans here, and we can hold a lot of fans. At the Super Bowl, we had at the Super Bowl 2 years ago, we had the entire basement filled, plus the upstairs room that's dedicated to the 49ers. So I expect a lot of people there. I expect the excitement level to be very high. We have raffles at the end of every quarter. We have a kids raffle at halftime. And at the 2-minute warning, we raffle away a very nice gift. And by the way, we got some surprises. I'll tell you about those offline, Gary. But we got some nice 2-minute gifts. So come on down and enjoy it with us.
There'll be Seahawks fans there too, so we need the faithful support.
That's right.
They always kind of come into the room while we're playing.
And Gary, what club do we belong to?
We belong to the Niner Empire Vancouver.
That's right.
Club.
With the Southwest Washington's 49er Vancouver Club. Toy drive's going on right now. If you come down, please, if you can, bring a toy or 2 or 5 for Toys for Tots and Teens. We're doing that right now. We still got the food barrel out. So if you'd like to donate food, we're still doing that as well. And we'll do that until the weekend before Christmas.
Yeah, there are families that at Christmas time, they kind of run low on funds. So the extra food will really help.
The extra food, a few toys can lift a kid's spirit, right? And that's what we're about. That's what our club is about. Our club is about family. And I think that we can be real proud of that. So I had 2 thoughts to wrap this one up. One of them is that everything that we've just talked about points to a Niner victory. But, based upon history, I'm not going to name my pick for this weekend. And I'm not even going to bother with a spread. I want the Niners to win this game, and I want them to win big. And the second point that I had was that Shanahan versus Pete the Cheat this weekend. It's a coin toss. And it may be the biggest influence on it. So that's 2 weeks in a row that I've said that. I think that that's 3 weeks in a row I said that.
Well, I think it's the rest of the season.
Yeah, so do I. But I think it's really big this weekend. Any wrap on you? Any final words?
It's time for the history pendulum to swing the other way and get us caught up. And because we do have a past, we do have a future. And our future is going to be a 49ers win.
All right, Gary. I love your enthusiasm. I'm just going to hold my tongue because I just don't know. And but boy, I'll be there rooting hard for the Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners. Okay, Gary.